Hello, I've had a couple questions about how to create this text effect that you can see in this sample that I created once for the e-learning heroes challenge. The effect people are looking at is having this text that has a solid fill with an outline, but then also the text is partially filled with the image in the background. And as you can see, in this case, I actually have the background image moving, but the text stays stationary. However, as the background moves, it changes the how the text is actually filled in. So it's filled in partially with the image, and then it's partially filled in with a solid color. So I wanted to show you how I do that using Canva and then with Storyline. So first, we're going to go to Canva. So I was recently on a trip to Portugal and went to Lisbon and saw some of the sites there. One of the sites that I wanted to see was the Belém Tower, but I wasn't able to see it because it was covered in scaffolding. So I thought I would use that image, for our purposes here. So what you want to do is you want to find an image that has a nice, good foreground and background with a nice, clear space behind a foreground image as well. Um, so you do that first. So go ahead and find your image and you insert that into Canva. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to add 3 pages, 1, 2, 3, to my Canva project. And what we're going to do is populate each of these pages with 4 elements that we're going to then download and place in a storyline. So next, what I'm going to do is add my text. So I'm going to add text here. I'm just going to write Lisbon, and then I'm going to choose a font that I'd like to use, and then I'm going to resize it. The reason I do this here is just to kind of see how everything looks together. You can definitely do this separately, but to me it just kind of makes sense to see how it's going to look, roughly look in the end. You can also make adjustments later. So I've got my lettering and then I've got my image. So I'm going to take that wording that I'm going to put it kind of where I want it to end up in the end. I'll put it like right here, sort of in front of that tower. And I'm going to then cut it and I'm going to paste it onto my third page. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to my image, and what I need to do now is use Canva's magic grab application. So in order to do that, you select the image and then you click on edit, and under Magic Studio, if you scroll through, you're going to find Magic Grab. It has this air balloon here on it. So I'm going to click on Magic Grab, and once you've clicked on it, you're going to see that you've got some options of what to choose. And what I'd like to choose for our purposes today is foreground. So I'm going to click foreground, and then what Canva does is it finds the foreground for you, and it will actually select it out from the actual image. So here you see it's already been selected. What it's done is it's selected this foreground image. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it onto my second page. And then I'm going to go back to my original image and I'm going to delete it so that I just have the background. And you're going to see that Canva uses AI to fill in whatever it thinks would have been behind the actual foreground image. It really doesn't matter to us because we're going to be replacing that foreground image back on top of the background. So it looked like it was before. So I've got my foreground and I've got my background. All right, I'm going to go back to my lettering now, and I want to choose a color. I'm going to change the color of my lettering, and I want to use a kind of bright color for this purpose. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to copy this. I'm going to put it back on this background image for a second, and I'm going to change the color here because I want to choose a color that is from this sunset sort of color. So let's choose that. And I'm going to copy this again. Actually, you know what? I'm going to cut it and then I'm going to replace it here. Okay, so I've got my lettering here. And what I need to do next is copy this one more time and put it on my fourth page. And then I'm going to need to make my outline of the lettering. To do that, I go to, with my text selected, I go to Effects, and then I go to Hollow, the Hollow option. And I'm going to change this color to white. Now it looks like it's gone, but of course it's still there. It's just you can't see it because the background is white. Okay, so I've got my four elements here. I've got my background, I've got my foreground, I've got my solid lettering, and then I've got my hollow lettering that actually is a white color. Just so you can see it real quick, it actually looks like that, but I'm going to make it white. Okay, so I've got my four elements ready to go into Storyline. So I'm going to click Share, and then I'm going to click Download, and I'm going to download this as a transparent PNG. So you choose PNG, click on Transparent Background, and download. All right, my download is complete. I'm going to open that folder and I'm going to extract it into my download folder, and I've got my four images right there. So now I'm going to go to Storyline. I've already got it open and ready to go, and I'm going to insert all four of those images into this slide. So go to Insert, and then I go to Picture, Picture from File. I'm already in the Downloads folder, and I'm going to click all four of these images and just click Open. So now all four of them are on my slide. So just to illustrate how this layering works, or how to get that effect with the foreground and background, notice that I've got all four elements: background, foreground, solid, and hollow. What I can do is I can take that solid lettering and just pull it right behind the foreground, and you can see that it has that effect already of filling in the lettering with the foreground, and then the solid part is behind the foreground, so it is kind of filling in the other parts where the hollow lettering is. All right, so you've got your four elements, and I'm going to actually label these because that's good best practice, and it just helps make things less confusing. So in order to make sure I know what's what, I'm going to hide everything, and at one at a time I'm going to reveal them. So this is my background. This is my solid lettering. I'm just going to call it solid. This is my foreground. And this is my hollow lettering, which you can't see, remember, because it's white. Just to illustrate that, you can see if I add my background, you can see it's actually there. So this is my, I'm just going to call it hollow. All right, so now everything's there. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to have those, the lettering animate onto the screen. So I'm going to, for the solid, I'm going to say animations, insert, fly in, effect from left. And then for the hollow lettering, I'm going to say fly in, and let's do from the right. All right, so we already have an effect now. If we preview, you can see you've got your image, and then you have the lettering fly in, and it kind of goes in between the object and the foreground. All right, now just to add a little bit more dramatic effect, what we're going to do is we're going to hide our lettering, and we're going to work with our two pictures here. Now remember, because I imported them from Canva, they're exactly the same size, and I'm going to make them a little bit larger than my actual slide size. For now, I'm going to get rid of the foreground. I'm just going to do that with the background image, and I'm going to make it, let's say, about this much bigger. Move it down. Now, how much bigger did I make it? Well, it looks like it is 1,381 pixels wide. I'm really worried about the width. And the size of my slide is 1,280. Okay. So 1,280, let's actually make it, just for so the math's easier, it's 100 pixels wider than the slide. And it is oriented, I want to orient it directly into the middle of the slide, both vertically, and I just actually want it horizontal. I want it vertically centered. Now I want the left side of my image to be lined up with the left side of my slide. Now I want to do the same for the foreground. I need to also make it 100 pixels larger than the slide. So I'm going to do that now. I'm just going to go ahead and do that there. And I also want it to be oriented so that it is in the middle of the slide, but also all the way to the left. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add an animation path that is, let's say 20, let's do about 75 pixels wide. And the reason I'm doing that is it's what it's going to do is it's going to move that image very, very slowly, but you don't want it to move completely off the slide. So remember, we left 100 pixels of space on the right side, and we're going to move this image to the left by about 75 pixels. We could even do 90 if we want. So why don't we do that? We'll just do 90 pixels and make it move really slow. So first I'm going to do the background. I'm going to click animations. I'm going to add a motion path, a line, and I'm going to have it start in the center, and I'm going to have it move to the right. And let's make it, we said 90 pixels wide. Or long, okay? So what that's going to do is you notice it's going to move this image over to the left 90 pixels, and then it's going to stop. I want it to be really slow, so I'm going to put in about, let's say 30 seconds, okay? Now I want to do the same thing. Let me move my timeline over. Doesn't really matter, I don't think, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to move it longer than 30 seconds. Okay, now I'm going to go to my foreground. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add a motion path. I'm going to make it exactly like the foreground motion path. I want to be exactly the same. Okay, so we see it's 90 pixels, and we wanted to make it be 30 seconds long. Okay, so now what's going to happen is the image is going to move slowly across the screen, sort of giving it this cinematic effect after the as the text flies in. So let's see how that looks. Oops, you know what I didn't do? I do this all the time. I forgot to unhide my text. All right, let's do it again. All right, you have it move in, and then if you look closely, it's not moving. Why is that? Okay, let's see. Oh, I think it actually is moving. I think it might be a little too slow. So let's go ahead and change the timing of that. Maybe make it a little bit, you probably want to make it a little bit longer when you do this, but I'm going to make it shorter for illustration so you can actually see it happening. All right. Okay, so you can notice that the image is actually moving behind the text. And then it stops. Okay. Now, one more thing I'm going to show you is you might want to go ahead and go to path options and have no easing. So you go to direction and say none. That way it doesn't do that slow start and then speed up, because I don't really want that to happen. But then again, that's kind of up to you. So you might want that to happen. Let's see how that looks. So the image is moving, the text comes in, and then that foreground image is filling those letters. All right, that's it. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'd be happy to help you out. Thank you.